Hello? So just to be clear, I said, standing in our kitchen with my work boots still on. You're telling me, not asking me. She didn't even look up from her phone. He's moving in. This isn't up for discussion. That was it. That was the sentence. Flat, bored, like she was announcing a change in the cable plan instead of detonating the relationship. For context, I'm Alex, 29M. She's Kara, 27F. We've been together just under 3 years and living together for 1. The apartment is technically ours, but my name is on the lease, my credit got us approved, and every utility runs through my accounts because she hates dealing with that stuff. I work full-time in logistics. She freelances between projects, which mostly means late mornings and a lot of phone scrolling. She was referring to? Her ex Ryan. The one she swore was toxic. The one she blocked. The one whose name used to make her roll her eyes and say, "Ugh, never again." Apparently never again now meant bring him into the apartment I pay half of. I asked why. She sighed dramatically, finally looking at me like I was a slow child. Because his lease ended, and he needs a place. And honestly, you're being really unsupportive right now. Unsupportive. That word again. It was her favorite when I didn't immediately fall in line. I asked how long he'd be staying. She shrugged. However long it takes. Don't be weird about it. Don't be weird about my girlfriend's ex moving into our 1-bedroom. I stood there, keys still in my hand, feeling something very specific click into place. Not anger. Not heartbreak. Just clarity. The kind that shows up when someone finally says the quiet part out loud. I said, calmly, neither is my exit. She laughed. Actually laughed. Okay, Alex. You're being dramatic. You'll get over it. She had no idea I already had. She thought my silence meant surrender. That was the pattern with us. If I didn't argue, she assumed I'd fold. That night, she ordered takeout for herself only. Didn't ask if I wanted anything. Ate on the couch with her feet up, texting nonstop, probably him. I went into the bedroom, shut the door, and sat on the edge of the bed staring at the wall. Not spiraling. Planning. People always think the breaking point is loud. Screaming, crying, slammed doors. For me, it was quiet. It was realizing I didn't feel the urge to convince her anymore. Around midnight, she poked her head into the bedroom. You're being really cold, she said. I don't like this energy. I nodded. I hear you. That seemed to irritate her more than yelling would have. So you're just what, pouting? No, I said. I'm listening. She rolled her eyes and went back to the couch. The next morning, I woke up early like always. She slept in. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and opened my laptop. First thing I did was pull up the lease portal. Month to month. My name only. There was a button labeled Remove Tenant. I didn't click it yet. I just looked at it. Let it exist. Then I logged into the utilities. Electric, internet, water, all under my name. All on autopay. All easily adjustable. I went to work like nothing was wrong. Answered emails. Took meetings. Smiled at the right times. The calm freaked me out a little, but it also felt clean. When I got home, Kara was in a great mood. Too good. Ryan's coming by tonight so we can talk logistics, she said, like she was announcing a plumber. I told him you're chill. That was the moment. Not when she said he was moving in. Not when she dismissed me. This. Her assuming my compliance was permanent. I said, okay. She smiled, satisfied. See? That's all I wanted. She had no idea that was the exact second I stopped being her roommate, her boyfriend, her safety net. Ryan arrived at 7:14 p.m. with a duffel bag and that awkward half-smile men give when they know there's somewhere they don't belong. I shook his hand. Polite. Brief. Then I picked up my keys, wallet, and jacket. Where are you going? Kara asked, confused. Out, I said. I didn't say when I'd be back. I didn't actually go far. I sat in my car in the parking lot across the street, engine off, lights out. From the third-floor window, I could see the glow of our living room lamp. My lamp. The one I bought when we moved in. I watched Ryan drop his duffel by the couch. Watched Kara hand him a beer. Watched them sit too close, knees angled toward each other like muscle memory never really left. I didn't feel jealous. That surprised me. Mostly I felt removed, like I was already watching a past life through glass. After about 20 minutes, my phone buzzed. Kara, where did you go? Kara, this is awkward. Kara, can you come back and not make it weird? I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my banking app. Rent had already cleared for the month. Utilities were scheduled to draft in 5 days. Plenty of time. I texted my friend Mark. You still got that spare couch? He replied instantly. Always. What's up? I'm done, I typed. That was all. When I finally drove away, I didn't feel like I was storming out. It felt more like closing a browser tab that had been draining memory for too long. I stayed at Mark's place that night. Slept harder than I had in months. The next morning, Kara's messages started early. Kara, we need to talk. Kara, you can't just disappear like this. Kara, Ryan feels uncomfortable. That one almost made me laugh. Ryan felt uncomfortable. In my apartment. By noon, the tone shifted. Kara, are you seriously mad about this? Kara, he's just here temporarily. Kara, stop being dramatic. That was the last message I read before opening the lease portal again. This time, I clicked Remove Tenant. It asked for confirmation. I confirmed. Then I went to the utilities. One by one, I scheduled shut-off dates. Not immediate. No drama. Just ending service. Electricity on Friday. Internet Saturday. Water Monday. All legal. All within notice. Finally, I emailed the property manager, informing them I'd be vacating and transferring occupancy concerns to the remaining residents. Very professional. Very boring. The kind of email that changes lives quietly. That evening, Kara called. I let it ring. She left a voicemail, voice sharp with irritation. I don't know what you think you're doing, but you're not just going to abandon me over a roommate issue. Roommate. I deleted the voicemail and went back to making a list of things I needed to pick up later, tools, documents, my gaming console. I wasn't abandoning her. I was exiting a situation that had already replaced me. By Thursday, the panic set in. I know this because Mark showed me a screenshot before I'd even finished my coffee. Blocked number. Paragraphs stacked on paragraphs. Kara cycling through confusion, anger, blame, then bargaining like she was running a checklist she'd used before and expected to work again. This is really immature. You're blowing this out of proportion. We can talk when Ryan leaves. Why are you doing this to me? I didn't respond to any of it. Friday morning, the electricity shut off. I was at work when my phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. I let it ring. Then another. Then a voicemail. Her voice this time wasn't sharp. It was tight. Controlled panic, trying not to sound like panic. Hey, so something's wrong with the power. The breaker's fine. I already checked. Did you change something? I imagined her standing in the kitchen, lights dead, fridge silent, Ryan probably hovering uselessly behind her. I imagined the moment she realized this wasn't a tantrum. This was logistics. I still didn't respond. That evening, she drove to Mark's place. I wasn't home, but I watched her from the top of the stairs as she stood on the sidewalk, arms crossed, jaw clenched, waiting like I'd eventually come down and explain myself. She finally spotted me through the window. What is wrong with you? She snapped the second I stepped outside. Did you shut off the power? I didn't raise my voice. Utilities were in my name. You can't just do that. I can't, I said. And I did. Ryan stepped forward then, like this was his cue. Man, this is between you two. But I looked at him for the first time since he'd arrived. Really looked. No, I said. It isn't. Kara scoffed. So what? You're punishing me now. I shook my head. I'm removing myself. That phrase seemed to short-circuit her. From what? Everything, I said. She laughed, but it cracked halfway through. You don't mean that. I met her eyes. I already removed myself from the lease. Silence. Not dramatic silence. Heavy silence. The kind where reality finally catches up. Her face changed then. Not anger. Fear. You wouldn't, she said quietly. I already did. That was the moment. The exact second she understood non-negotiable cuts both ways. Kara didn't yell. That surprised me. She just stared at me like I'd spoken a language she didn't believe I knew. Ryan shifted his weight beside her, suddenly very aware he was standing on a trapdoor. You're bluffing, she said finally. You always cool off. I checked my watch. Internet shuts off tomorrow. That did it. Her voice jumped an octave. You're doing this on purpose. You're trying to scare me. No, I said. I told you my exit wasn't up for discussion. She stepped closer, lowering her voice like we were negotiating a hostage situation. Okay, fine. This got out of hand. He can stay somewhere else for a bit. We'll talk. That was the offer. The retroactive compromise. The thing she thought would reset everything to normal. I shook my head. You already decided without me. So what? You're throwing away 3 years because I made one call. No, I said. I'm leaving because you didn't think I mattered enough to ask. Ryan cleared his throat. I can go, Kara. Seriously. I don't want to cause. She snapped at him. Stop. This isn't your fault. It wasn't. But it also wasn't my problem anymore. I grabbed the last box from Mark's trunk. Important stuff only. Documents. Hard drive. Clothes for the week. Everything else could wait. As I walked back up the stairs, Kara followed me, panic leaking through her anger now. You can't just leave me with all this, she said. I can't afford this place on my own. I paused at the door. You should have thought about that before making unilateral decisions. Her eyes filled. So that's it. You're just gone? I nodded. Yeah. Saturday morning, the internet went dark. By Saturday afternoon, her landlord was calling her. By Saturday night, Ryan was gone too. Turns out, temporarily, has limits when there's no Wi-Fi, no power, and a very confused property manager asking questions. She texted me at 1:17 a.m. Kara, please call me. I didn't think you'd actually do it. I didn't reply. No background noise to drown out the consequences. Just an apartment she suddenly couldn't afford, couldn't power, and technically wasn't supposed to be occupying alone. She called me 9 times before noon. I didn't answer any of them. Around 2, I got a text from an unfamiliar number. Landlord. Hi Alex, this is Denise from the property office. Please call me regarding the unit. I did. Calmly, politely, explained I'd vacated, removed myself from the lease, and had already sent notice. Denise sighed, the tired sigh of someone who's seen this movie before. Yes, she said, we spoke with Kara. She wasn't aware you'd left. I told her, I said. I'm sure, Denise replied, in the tone of someone who very much was not sure. By evening, Kara's messages changed again. Less anger, more bargaining. Kara, I'll put everything back in your name. Kara, we can start over. Kara, I didn't think you'd actually leave me like this. Like this. As if the this hadn't started the moment she decided my consent was optional. I went back Monday morning to get the rest of my things. Early. Quiet. I coordinated with Denise. Everything by the book. Kara was there, sitting on the floor in the living room, phone dead beside her. The place smelled stale already. No power. No internet. Just daylight and regret. She looked up when I walked in. Her eyes were red, but her posture was defensive. Pride clinging to her like armor. You really did all this, she said. Yes. For him, she added bitterly. No, I said. For me. She scoffed. You could have talked to me. I tried, I replied. You told me it wasn't up for discussion. That landed harder than any insult. I packed quietly. She followed me from room to room, narrating our relationship like a highlight reel, pointing out memories like they were receipts I owed her for. You said you wanted a future. I did. So this is how you fight? I'm not fighting, I said, lifting the last box. I'm leaving. At the door, she finally broke. You're ruining my life, she whispered. I looked at her, really looked, and felt nothing but distance. No, I said. I just stopped supporting it. And then I walked out. 3 weeks passed. I know the exact number because that's how long it took for her tone to fully rot. At first, it was remorse. Long texts. Voice notes she knew I hated. Apologies padded with, I didn't realize, and I never meant. Then came entitlement. Then anger. Mark forwarded me a screenshot one afternoon while we were eating lunch. Blocked number. Same one. Kara, you really think you won? Kara, you left me with nothing. Kara, this is cruel. Nothing. I'd left her with the exact situation she'd chosen, minus the person funding it. The landlord didn't renew. She couldn't qualify on her own. She moved out a week later. I heard through mutual friends that she bounced between couches, then stayed with her sister, then tried to reconnect with Ryan again. That lasted 4 days. Turns out men are much more enthusiastic about moving in when there's power, internet, and a guy covering half the rent. One night, out of curiosity more than anything, I unblocked her number for 10 minutes. The messages came flooding in immediately, like she'd been waiting at the door. Kara, I never thought you'd actually walk away. Kara, you always stayed before. Kara, I didn't think you had it in you. That one stuck with me. Not because it hurt. Because it explained everything. She didn't underestimate my love. She underestimated my spine. I blocked her again. Later that week, I signed a lease for a smaller place. 1 bedroom. Quiet. Utilities in my name because I like it that way. The silence felt earned. I ran into one of her friends at the grocery store. She gave me the look. The how could you look? Kara's really struggling, she said. I nodded. I'm sure. She says you blindsided her. I smiled politely. Funny. She said the same thing about moving her ex in. The friend didn't have a response for that. Funny how non-negotiable only sounds fair when you think you're the only one allowed to say it. About a month after everything collapsed, she tried a different angle. Not apology. Not anger. Nostalgia. I got an email this time. Subject line, can we talk like adults? She wrote about memories. Trips we took. Inside jokes. The way I used to bring her coffee without asking. How safe she felt with me. How she never meant to make me feel optional. That word stood out. Optional. I didn't reply. A few days later, I heard through Mark, because news like this always circles back, that she was telling people a very specific version of the story. That I'd financially abused her. That I'd cut her off to control her. That she'd been blindsided by my instability. It was impressive, honestly. The confidence. The revisionism. What she didn't mention was that every bill, every service, every safety net she lost had been one she'd never bothered to put her name on. Control looks a lot like independence when you're the one funding it. I ran into Ryan once. Completely by accident. Coffee shop near my office. He looked tired. Smaller somehow. He hesitated, then said, "Man, I didn't know it was like that." I shrugged. "You saw what you needed to see. She said you were cool with it." "I wasn't," I said. "I just stopped arguing." That seemed to hit him harder than anything else. He nodded slowly. "Yeah, she does that." We didn't talk much after that. That night, I sat alone in my new apartment, lights on, internet humming, everything working because I paid for it and chose it. I realized something important. She didn't miss me. She missed the version of her life that worked when I was quietly holding it together. And once you see that difference, you can't unsee it. The last message she ever sent me came at 2:43 a.m. I know because I woke up, glanced at my phone out of habit, and saw her name flash once before disappearing. She must have typed it, stared at it, then sent it before fear could stop her. "Kara, I really thought you'd stay no matter what." I didn't reply, but I did sit there in the dark for a long time, thinking about how honest that sentence was. Not loving, not apologetic, just revealing. She hadn't seen me as a partner. She'd seen me as a constant. Something stable enough to build on, flexible enough to bend, quiet enough not to interrupt her decisions. I thought back to all the times I'd swallowed my discomfort. All the "it's not a big deal" moments. All the compromises that only went one direction. None of it had felt dramatic at the time. That's the danger. You don't notice you're being erased until someone else is given your space. A week later, I got confirmation from the property office that the unit had been relisted. New photos. New listing. Same place, different story. I walked past it once. Different car in the lot. Lights on. Someone else's life unfolding where mine used to be. I didn't feel sad. I felt finished. People keep asking if I regret how I handled it. If I think I was too harsh. Too cold. Here's the thing no one tells you. Boundaries always look cruel to people who benefited from you having none. She called it non-negotiable because she thought she was the only one allowed to say it. She was wrong. And the moment I stopped negotiating my own worth, everything else became very simple. I posted this here because a few friends asked if I was okay, if I missed her, if I ever thought about reaching out. The truth is, I don't miss her. I miss the version of myself that believed staying quiet was the same thing as being supportive. That's the part one had to grieve. About 2 months after everything ended, I ran into her sister at a gas station. She hesitated, then said, "Kara, didn't think you'd actually leave. She thought you'd cool off like always." I nodded. "Yeah, I know." "She says you taught her a lesson," her sister added carefully. I almost laughed. I didn't teach her anything. Reality did. I just stopped shielding her from it. Here's what I've learned, and why I'm posting. When someone says this isn't up for discussion, believe them. They're telling you exactly how much room you're allowed to take up in their life. And when you reply, don't argue. Don't beg. Don't threaten. Just decide whether you're willing to live inside that sentence. I wasn't. I removed myself from the lease. I shut off the utilities. I packed my things. I walked away. Quietly. Completely. And for the first time in a long time, nothing in my life feels negotiable anymore. Bye-bye.